I'm Lois Sonstegard. I'm president and founder of Build2morrow and the Academy for Entrepreneur Success. I focus on growth and growth strategies for businesses and business leaders. So if you are looking for growth because perhaps you find that things have plateaued, or perhaps you've lost your momentum, or maybe you feel trapped in your own success and the life that you look forward to living you feel has been usurped by your success or by your fear of failure. So I focus on growth and bringing all the different puzzle pieces together so that you can really have the time and the energy that you need to focus on your growth and perhaps even get some of your sanity back in the process. So who am I and why am I doing what I'm doing? I have been in business for 35 plus years. I started my career in healthcare. I've worked in corporations and I have had 2 entrepreneurial companies, one in which I developed my own trademarks and patents, so intellectual property, took the company globally and then sold it. So I have in that time also taught in universities, in graduate schools, in medical schools, and in business schools, and have done research. And I have learned a lot of things in that process. So as I've lived and experienced business, I have learned things that I think are really critical that I bring to my coaching process as I work with businesses. So what are those learnings? There are 5 of them. And the first is we can't get momentum without hope. And why do I say that? One of my most valuable lessons that I learned very early on as a child was from my mother. She was a survivor of a concentration camp during the Second World War. And she said at night, they knew who would not be alive in the morning. And I would say to her, how did you know? And she would say, because when you lose hope, the people would go to all the people that they knew to say goodnight. And their goodnight this time was hollow and it was empty. You see, as human beings, we cannot survive and we can't see that next part that we need to go to unless we have a sense of hope, a hope for the future. So the second lesson that I learned is that big problems require collaboration. And I learned that when I was working in West Texas at the University, Texas Tech University School of Medicine. And we were tasked at that time to look at how do we impact maternal and infant mortality and morbidity in a region, so an entire region. And we had areas at that time in that particular region that had mortality and morbidity rates that were 3 and 4 times the national average. So what do? You have hospitals, you have physicians, you have systems, you have community leaders, you have politicians, and then you have the people who live in the communities. How do you bring that together to really impact something different and to focus on a new possibility? So there I learned that if you're going to impact change, create big solutions to big problems, you've got to get past egos, territorial ownership, and get people to buy into outcomes and what it is that they want for their future. Then I learned when I was working with my son, who, when he was born prematurely, we were told that he would never read, write, or to do math, and that we should not even look for ways to teach him that because none of the research gave us hope for his ability to do that. And that began my journey to study the brain and our neural pathways and what it is that we can do to impact our brain and how we process things. And what I learned from him and working with him at that time was that you have to look at the worst case scenario. Yes, what will life be like if indeed the experts are right? Look at that while planning for the best case scenario also. Because you see, our brain needs both. If we go to the best case scenario without focusing on planning for the worst, our brain will go there anyway. So bringing those pieces together and moving forward is incredibly important. And that child, by the way, has gone on, has his MBA, CPA, and now is CFO of some major corporations in our country. And then I learned that if you want to grow, you need to have growth strategies and you need to collaborate. And I did learn that when I had my entrepreneurial business and was also working with other companies in the biotech corridor here in Minnesota. They saw some of what I was doing, the relationships I was building in my business, particularly in Japan, some in Europe at that time. And they said, can you help us do that? And so we, with the university, Mayo Clinic, the state, the city, looked at how do we develop collaborative relationships, because you see, for them to grow, it was going to require that they develop these partnerships. And then the last thing that I learned is an incredible sense of gratitude. There are many people who have helped me along the way that have allowed me to accomplish what I have. And so now it's my time to also give back. And I give back to a hospital that I work with in Pakistan. And I also work with young entrepreneurs in developing countries who want to develop a business. You see, what I've gained, I need to give back, because that's also how we build a future. So from all of this, what I understand the challenges that businesses have. I understand what it's like to develop intellectual property and protect it. I understand global distribution. I understand the manufacturing process. I understand how to create results, extraordinary results, when things seem literally impossible. So one of the biases that I have is we shouldn't have to live under the stress that we live. But we do that because we're afraid of judgment. We're afraid of what people are going to think about us and how we're doing. We think, if I can just get this to look a little bit better when you come and help, it won't look so bad. And my ego won't be at risk, right? Or we have inertia. We just lose our momentum because we're overwhelmed. We're told right now 85% of people are at an overwhelmed level. And so from that also comes a depression. And with that then also comes a loss of momentum, doesn't it? And then it's really hard today, I think, to know who to trust. There's so many voices out there. Many have no experience, and yet they're loud and they're aggressive. And so we may try them and find that we've been disillusioned, disappointed, without results. And so who do we trust? It's for this reason that I've established my business. I've been there. I've done it. I understand what it's all about. And businesses today are looking for solutions. One of the things that I did during COVID was I took a step back and I said, who's going to survive COVID? What's going to happen to business coming out of COVID? So I started calling people, CFOs, owners, CEOs, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, and I called people who were involved in mergers and acquisitions, and then consultants to boards of directors of major Fortune 500, 105 companies, and said, what do you think is going to happen to businesses coming out of COVID? Without exception, this was their response. Very large corporations will do just fine. They have access to cash. They have systems in place that they will be able to continue to move ahead. Your very small businesses are very used to barely surviving. We run when we're small, don't we? And we run as fast as we can to grab a ball before it falls, and we're running again to catch another one, and we're used to that, so used to it that when we continue it, there's nothing really new or different about it. And so we continue to do that. The question is, what happens to everything between that very small and about the Fortune 500 million? That's from about 2 million to 500 million. That's a big gap. And the response was, we don't know. That group is very much in danger. And who will survive, we don't know, but the possibility of survival is probably dependent upon their ability to collaborate. So you say, what does that mean? So I started looking at the companies in 1917, the last pandemic that we had, and then the depression that followed that, and said, who survives? Who survived that? Well, our best example, of course, is Andrew Carnegie and his oil business. He developed an incredible oil conglomerate coming out of that period of time. How did he do it? He didn't do it alone. He got a group of 20 businesses that had similar products that he needed for his growth, and they covenanted to grow each other. So they had each other's resources, they had each other's contacts and networks, and together they grew their business. That's an important model for us, I think, to look at, especially when you look at the fact that right now that 1 million, about 2 million to 500 million, those CEOs are telling us right now 91% of them are saying, we need help. Interestingly, coming out of COVID, that same group, 96% of them have totally overhauled their strategy because they realize what they're doing is not going to continue to work. Unfortunately, they also say that pivot has been so quick that to communicate that to their entire staff has been very problematic, and there is inconsistency across the board in terms of their staff about mission and strategy. That's problematic if you're going to grow your business and move. So I have developed this business to really help you address these needs. You need to grow. You need to be able to do it while retaining your sanity, without losing your family relationships, without fear of what's going to happen financially to you. And when we have those things fall apart, relationships begin to fall apart, and our health falls apart, doesn't it? It's a huge price we pay for living in that sense of not knowing what to do, where the direction is, and where the possibilities are, and where do you find hope for the future. So those are the things I bring together. I help businesses to push so that they can have success. But I do that by shifting their mindset. We need a new growth mindset. We need new skills and new strategies. And we need new ways of working together so that we can truly collaborate and build strong businesses. Why do I do that? Because the future of our country depends on the strength of those businesses right in the middle. If we don't grow each other and make strong businesses economically, we're going to suffer. So if you're a business that would like to grow and you would like help with your growth mindset strategies and processes and systems to help you grow, there's a number on the screen. Please call. I would be glad to help you. If you're a coach and you would like to help businesses, I am willing to teach you coaches everything I know so that you can coach businesses in their growth strategy. You see, the reason I do that is I have been helped. And we have businesses, if 91% of businesses are saying they need help, there is more work here to be done than I can do. There's many of us that are going to need to come together to solve this problem. So for those of you who want to learn how to coach businesses, call the number. I am glad to help you. And I look forward to working with you and to develop your company. I work with businesses of all sizes, and there is great opportunity here for us to develop a new world of business.